understand. I think magnesium is also another very popular supplement that people take. I take magnesium somehow because of the knowledge that I have. I always take it after my heart training because it actually really helps me to relax and sleep quite well, But I had a chat before this with Mr. Ho, and I just found out that actually magnesium is something that actually helps even before, and then it's not. No, I think it's work. I mean, my worry is always like taking a magnesium and then getting sleepy at training, but but now it's a question. Now we're going to address this, and magnesium somehow actually helps.
Well, it makes this really, very, very unique. Kind of. Well, I like magnesium as a mineral. It helps me to relax. It helps me to reduce my stress. It helps me to reduce my. I don't have depressions, but sometimes I do have stress. I certainly do have stress. I also reduce anxiety. So, but we know that it actually helps mental health a lot. And at the same time, magnesium relax my muscle as like not just the skeletal muscle, but it also relax the whole body muscles, especially like blood vessel. It shows that reduce the heart pressure, and therefore it actually reduce blood pressure. So, and you're right that when you are very tired or you want to have a good sleep, you take magnesium. Because what magnesium does in this part actually, in terms of mechanism of action, is it counteract the contraction of calcium. After a long contractions, contractions you need calcium. So magnesium actually relaxes as a counteract. So basically you feel that it's more relaxed. When you're more relaxed, very likely you will be able to reduce the risk of getting muscle cramp. But as you know that, as I've spoken to you the other day, there's a lot of, not misconcept, but it's just that people do not realize actually magnesium is also producing energy. It helps in energy metabolisms. So basically what magnesium does is actually it forms ATP. Remember we said, all food, whether you are taking from fat or glucose or carbo, they all has to form into ATP. And forming in ATP actually found in an organelle within our cells called mitochondria. And that process needed enzymes like a catalyst. They call it ATPase. ATPase basically is an enzyme converting all these calories into energy. And this process needs magnesium. Without magnesium, ATPase will not work. So it's like a cofactor for that enzymes. So without that, we can't form ATP. No matter how much fat we take, or how much calories, or how much glucose that we take, without magnesium, all this cannot turn into ATP that our body uses for energy. So this ATP is so important to us. During normal time, our body stores very little ATP. Probably it's about 3 ounces. Or, then when we are in active or we are in endurance sports, for instance, we are having a turnover of ATP as high as 50 kilograms of ATP per hour.
Wow.
So can you imagine how much magnesium we need to activate that ATPase?
And do we lose magnesium when we're sweating on top of that as well?
And people who does marathon or those endurance sports, they really sweat a lot. And that's the time when you lose, one of the reasons why you lose so much magnesium, and probably one of the reasons that causes the muscle cramps. Because you keep contracting, but then there's no mirror to actually help you to relax it. So it's found that what magnesium does is in terms of energy, it actually redistributes. When we exercise, magnesium actually being redistributed to the organs needs the most energy. That's a very unique part of our body, and because ATP needs magnesium. So when we are endurance sports, the magnesium will distribute to place or to the organs that we need energy. For instance, skeletal muscle, our heart. When you exercise, because your heart beats increase. Respiratory muscle, because you breathe more. And also the brain, not forgetting the brain. When you sports, you don't.
We're
you need to
thinking, why are we doing this?
In your competitions or you're in competitive, you want to win, right? You need to strategize. You use a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And this glucose will follow where magnesiums are.
Okay.
So basically, when the magnesium distribute to your brain, that's where the glucose go to your brain and give you the energy to think, to strategize. When it goes to your skeletal muscles, it gives your skeletal muscles extra energy, extra power to work. Okay. And it goes to your heart, it makes your heart pump more to get you more circulations, more oxygens go around your body, which you need it very hard. And also give to your respiratory muscle, which you start to breathe more, to get more oxygens in, to sort of saturate your VO2 max, to make sure that you are not in palpitations and whatnot.
Awesome.
So magnesium is really, really important in that perspective. And there are many studies has been done on magnesiums and to show that how magnesium actually increased the energy. Yeah.
That's a very important for runners, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Really the fundamentals of what a good race and training block that we need, right? I mean, all the points covered here. Yeah. So I would think this is quite a good
combo.
Like a good combo for
an
active runner who is actually training more during this season, right? Yeah. So how do we supplement this then? Do you actually take more now that you're leading up to the race, 4 months to it already? So for someone maybe who'd never taken before, do you need to kind of like step up on the dosage? And,
Good for the questions. I like the questions because I think that's very important.
Yeah.
And I always suggest to anyone to start small, start slow.
Like your training.
Yeah, like
right?
training.
yeah.
Don't go for maximum. Start with a slow dose because you don't want to get that immediate effect that you may turn you off, like running, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you get that
Much
soreness that you don't want to continue to train anymore. Same like supplements. If the more powerful the supplement is, the less ambitious we should be with them. That means that we will start with, like, for instance, like if 12 milligrams, I would not suggest if anyone new will start with like straight away go 12 milligrams, probably 12 milligrams every other day for the first month. Get the body used to it first, then continue the second month, then start on full dose in that perspective. Unless your body could take it, your body have no problem with it, not that there will be a side effect. Sometimes, you because you run so much, you train so much, you train so hard, you just have to be very careful of what you are putting into your system, like you said yesterday. So I think we just have to be very careful. That's my suggestion.
And monitor and see how. Mine is a little bit neglected. I think I'm one person that don't recover properly. Okay, I think I get the basics like a rest or a slip in or maybe even a swim. Nat, I think you train a lot more than me. I think at least about, I would say, 10 times more than me on the block. So how do you recover from something that's so extensive? I mean, you do it regularly. You're probably very fit in, as an individual. But how does recovery work for you?
Yeah, I mean, I always get the question, how can I run 150 kilometres consistently a week, right? And it's down to recovery. So, training breaks our bodies down. Recovery gives us all the benefits and the gains. So for people that think they don't have to recover, they do. Any good athlete in the world recovers, and that can mean different things to different people. So number one, I always say, and this is something for free, is sleep. I think if your body is stressed and tired, number one, you can't train well, you're probably going to get injured, and you're at a heightened state the whole time. So those 7, 8, 9 hours a night, sleep is number one for recovery. Fueling for recovery. So, once you finish a run, you should be eating within 30 minutes of that run and be getting in some protein, some carbohydrates. So that's something that not enough people do because we want to fix our muscles when we've finished running. And then, think about, you talked about swimming before with recovery, but so think about active recovery. It doesn't mean sitting on the couch all day and doing nothing. It could be a walk, a swim, a yoga class, just some mobility. So it's not about, I'm doing nothing for my recovery days. It's always active recovery is what I like to say. It's not a rest day per se. And recovery should be every single day, so there will be an element of recovery. It's not a day a week. You are doing something to recover every single day.
I think recovery is always a fundamental. I think it's very important because if you're training for something like a marathon or even a long, it's an endurance sport, if you don't recover well, you find, you know, you don't have that energy, or, you know, to go back to do a good training block the next day, or even, you know, alternate days. Some people train like 3 times a week. Yeah. So I think coming back also to the supplement side of things, I'm sure, you know, so I mentioned earlier that magnesium works quite well for me after a hard training. Again, it helps me relax. I do really sleep better. I have very bad sleeping patterns, you know, so magnesium has sort of ticked the box for me. Yeah, so but what other, you know, products? I know magnesium, we spoke a little bit about performance earlier. Mr. Ho, so what are the great stuff that Kordel has, you know, that you know, other than the eggs and the food, and you know,
after an endurance exercise or competitions, you know, one will have a lot of physiological stresses, which is like, you know, you got your muscle damage, you have your, we call it oxidative stress, and perhaps you also have inflammations in your muscle, on your body. So these are the main reasons, especially like oxidative stress and inflammations are the main cause of people getting that muscle damage, you know, which is measured by probably stiffness, one of the indirect measurements, because usually we feel that after exercise, you know, I'm not in marathon, you know, for you. I wish I could.
You can start doing it.
But you know, I do play sports like badminton and gyms, and I think after every exercise, we always feel that stiffness. You know, stiffness being a measurement or a etiology or a reason why that we feel our muscles are damaging or weakened, not really thoroughly damaged, but it's really being damaged in a perspective. That's why we feel that it's hard for us to even wake up from or lift ourselves from the bed, you know, after that. So that's really important for recovery. And if we don't have we don't have a good or adequate kind of recovery, it tends to leads to, like you say just now, illness. You know, people tend to get easy to get sick, injuries especially, and sometimes surprisingly overtrain.
Yes.
Yeah, correct. Surprisingly, right? When they don't rest enough, they tend to overtrain themselves again because they don't feel good. You know, they think they are not good enough. You know, they want to train more. So these are the reasons why we need to have an adequate kind of recovery. And to counteract on this, you need a very good antioxidants, anti-inflammatory to take away this oxidative stress and to take away inflammations. And one of the products that I think is the best for this purpose is actually MSM. You know, especially you choose the right MSM called Opti MSM, which is the safest, the purest form of MSM. There are many MSM in the markets, but then not all MSM are created equal. And you need to choose the right one called DMSM, which is number one, they're clinically proven. Two, they have a lot of research scientists behind these products. And thirdly, more importantly, they are safe. And it is safe being classified by US FDA as GRAS, you know, generally regarded as safe, you know. So when an ingredient being classified or being determined by US FDA as GRAS, they are safe to be taken as a food or as a supplement. Yeah. So having MSM here, because it is an organic form of sulfur. Again, we mentioned about magnesium being very unique, sulfur also being unique. We can't just simply take sulfur from everywhere, but we need a form that sulfur that our body can absorb. The functions of sulfur basically are two. Number one, it forms all the structural proteins that we need. So you mentioned that you take protein after you exercise.
Yes.
Yeah, all these proteins, when they go to your system, it will be broken down to amino acids. Then you go back to your blood circulations and go to your skeletal muscle, and then it starts to form back the proteins of the muscles that you need. During this process, you need sulfur, because sulfur bridge all your chain of amino acids into the 3D structure or the matrix proteins that we need. And this is called disulfide bridge. So it forms two molecules of sulfur and then get all this long chain of amino acids forming together. Without this sulfur, all these amino acids that you absorb in your system find very difficult to form as the protein structure that you need. Therefore, if anyone who takes protein powder, and most of us take protein powder if we exercise, because whether it's for recovery or for strength, and we really need this.